Hello, I'm Sherry. Welcome to my podcast. Thank you for coming to spend time with me. It's just a little podcast about the way I like to live and crafty things. So if you like making and creating, then you might like this podcast. It's just really sharing things that I've been doing and maybe inspiring you in the same way that I've been inspired by others. So first thing I'd like to say is thank you for everybody that said they wanted to get involved in slow stitching. That's really lovely. It's always a bit nerve-wracking when you ask something and you think you're going to be Billy No Mate. So it was really lovely for so many of you to message, etc., and comment and say you'd like to. So if you didn't see last week's, basically I'm going to be doing some slow stitching every month, hoping to create something every month. Kind of like a piece of art or just something that you've created that you can do with as you want, really. You might decide to frame it or make it into a book cover or put it onto a cushion or do whatever. Or put it away in a drawer and do something with it when you're ready to. It's just one of those things. If slow stitching is basically taking time to put stitches on fabric. And for me, stitching lots of things onto fabric. So I decided that my January piece was going to be kind of inspired by snowdrops, the colourway. So I was going to stick to greens and that kind of grey that you get, that the flower looks like it's got that grey on it, doesn't it, the shadow. So I decided to go with grey and green. Oh, and there is, if you're one of our lovely patrons, there is a little video on there showing the haphazard thing that goes on in my mind, how I start to create something. But I basically decided that I was going to do lots of little Suffolk puffs, yo-yos, whatever you call them. Let me show you. Let me show you what I'm talking about. So this is not very impressive because I've only just started, but this is my January slow stitching. So somehow or other, I ended up just deciding that I was going to do almost like a frame, and then the fabric in the middle is just a pretty cream floral. And then I just had lots of, where is my, so I had, when I've decided on my fabrics, sorry it's making a noise, I basically got lots and lots of greens and greys together, which being me, I'm trying not to make a noise, which being me, I then all neatly ironed and put together. So I had loads and loads of greens and greys that I'm still working my way through as kind of the basis, close that quietly, for everything to go onto. So the idea is that I will finish sewing these on. I've sort of got about halfway round, and then I'm going to write something over here, and then this is going to be, whatever I call this month is going to be written in there. I might actually print that out on calico and put it on there. Kind of what I call January's, which I don't know what that is yet. And the idea is that I'm going to now, I think, embroider or maybe applique a little snowdrop, and then lots of little stitches and bits and pieces. So that's my beginning of my January one. So if you want to join in, the hashtag is a seasonal stitch along, but it really doesn't matter what you do. It would just be lovely for you to join in with whatever slow stitching you're doing. And like I said, slow stitching can just be anything with a needle and thread, really. So if you would like to join in, that would be lovely. And I will try and put on here, just trying to think if I said the right hashtag then. I should put it up if I didn't, which would be very embarrassing. Oh, and the other thing I didn't say was that although my Instagram account is Sherry_Iris, for my stitching, because many of the people that follow me on there, it's about the yarn. So for people that are particularly interested in stitching and slow stitching, I've got another Instagram account that I've started called Selvage Chronicles, which I'll put the address, I'll put it on the screen. It's one of those days. But anyway, if you would like to join in, it's basically any slow stitching, that would be lovely. And just essentially for me, it's inspired by nature, really, what I see now. So yeah, come along and join in. That would be lovely. And I'll sort of show what I'm doing on here every month and on Selvage Chronicles. But like I said, on Patreon, we'll be having a weekly sort of short video where I natter on even more than I have just done. Joy. I've got to open this again now. Sorry. So, talking of being inspired by nature and keeping a journal, etc. There is somebody on Instagram called, what is her name? Lara Gastinger, she is. And I put her Instagram link underneath or on the page, depending if I've remembered. And she does something called a perpetual journal. Ooh. And what that is it's a nature journal, that botanical journal, I think she calls it. And she will start a page, I think she does a double page spread per week. So it will say like the 1st to 7th of January, and then you might sketch something in there. Actually, if you didn't want to sketch, you could put a pressed flower in there or a photograph even. I don't know, but if you don't want to sketch or paint, you could do it another way. And then every year on that week, so she will then have 52 pages of that, and then every week on that year she will add to it. So you might like have 2022, and then you might not add to it the next year, but the year after that you might add something. And it's really a way of, because you know, sometimes you think, when do they start flowering, or they finished early, or I'm sure they've come out sooner than they have, and that this is kind of a way to document that. But also I think it's lovely, it makes you more aware of nature and your surroundings. I'm sure every year there's a house we passed on our walk this morning and we said, look at all those shoots, they've come up. They've definitely come up earlier. I don't think they have. I think every year you forget. Anyway, so I am going to invest, I think, in a really good sketchbook. And having done a little bit of research on it, I think it's not a watercolour sketchbook or a sketchbook I want, it's a mixed media sketchbook. I'll talk about that more next week if you're interested in doing it when I get it. Because the reason I think I'm going to get a good one instead of something they've already got is because I'm going to have it for years potentially. So it's better to get one that's going to be, you know, that I'm still going to be able to use in 5, 6, 7 years' time. Anyway, I got this out. I did think about using this. I think it's a bit too big and bulky. I think, although I'm not necessarily going to sketch when I'm out, I might do a preliminary sketch when I'm out. I also think I need something a bit more manageable than this. But this is, I don't know if you can see if that is showing up, but this is, but anyway, there's cow parsley on there, which is my favourite, and a little bee. I don't know if you can see that. And this is a lovely sketchbook, which would work really well because it lays flat, although I would ideally not want those bits in it. And this came from Highgrove. So before I moved down to Devon, I lived in the Cotswolds, and we lived near Tetbury, which is where Prince Charles lives, and there is a shop there called Highgrove, and there's also Highgrove online, and I got this from there in the sale one year. I was very pleased with myself, but I've not actually been able to bring myself to use it yet, which is typical me. I have these sketchbooks, and this really was the perfect thing for it, but then I thought, no, I'm not going to do that. Anyway, when I opened it, I found all leaves and things like that, look, that I pressed. I think that'd be really nice. Look at that one. I think that'd be a really nice thing to do, actually. Oh, and that's from my oldest son got married. Got that everywhere. Look, you see that? Anyway, so I'm going to get a sketchbook. I spent ages looking, And I think the one I think I'm going to get is the Strathmore mixed media, which is horribly expensive, but I do think it might be worth it. So anyway, that's something I'm going to be doing. And I will start that. I've already got something from the garden. I've done a little sketch. Don't know if I'll be sharing it, what's in there, but I just thought it would be a nice thing if you were interested in doing that too. Now, just quickly, I wanted to show you some of the books that I got. So this one here, which I've only just got, is called The Pocket, A Hidden History of Women's Lives. And it is by Barbara Berman and, is that say Ariane Venato? I can't pronounce her name. And this was a treat to myself because I think I might just bash my microphone, I'm sorry. This is a treat to myself because this is something that I want to do this year, is to make some of these. So back in the day, throughout history actually, people have had, women have had little pockets that they tie on. Throughout history, through all the classes, and I really want to find out more about them because I want to do some little embroidered ones. And it's going to be a fascinating book. I can't recommend it because I haven't read it yet, but I know it's going to be good. So there's that. And that's, yeah, I'm going to do some little pockets and stitch them all by hand as they would have done. I'm looking forward to that. The other thing I've been doing is that if you've watched this podcast before, you will know, I don't know where the saucer is now, I've left it somewhere, but this is a little mini teacup and saucer, and I've made a little pincushion from it, and I love it. I love it so much. Using a little tiny scrap of Liberty and the stuffing. When we've dyed the yarn and it's dried, we tied it up so that it's sort of neat for you to get, so it's all nice for you to receive. And we get little tiny offcuts where we trim it, the ties that are on the yarn. I'm talking about these, I'm waffling on, but when we trim all these for you, we have quite a few things left over, and me being me, I cannot throw them away. So I've got 2 huge bags of it, and I'm using it for pincushions. And actually, I know pincushions are supposed to have things in to keep them sharp, but these are little applique pins, and I think that's lovely. So yeah, I'm really pleased with that. And I've got lots of little cups and things like that. So obviously I've got to make more. So I've been doing that. Oh, I've also been doing this, which is, I don't really know if you're going to be able to make that out actually, but it's a little well. That's what I mean. And there's a little bucket that's just been poured out of the well. And that is from a book called Lavenders Green. I've done another couple of little embroideries from that book, which was the nursery rhyme book I had when I was a little girl. And mine is very tattered and torn with my name written throughout it. But I managed to get they've reprinted it. So I've done quite a few of these little images, which are so charming. I love them. No idea what I'm going to do with that, but it keeps me happy and it keeps me quiet. The other book that I love is this one. This was a Christmas gift, Britain's Trees, because again, if you've watched this before, you'll know that I just love trees. I adore trees. I can't walk past a tree without having to touch the bark, and there was recent research suggesting that they do kind of almost breathe, that they are living things. And even in the beginning of this book, they're talking about the communication between trees. And was it this book? I've only read the very beginning. No, maybe it was something my husband was telling me. But anyway, I think, and when you think about what they've witnessed, and I love trees. Who was it? Chris Packham, I think, on Winter Watch, was talking about an oak. Oh, I'm not going to go on. I won't ramble on about that. But anyway, that looks like a lovely... Is that National Trust? Looks like it might be a National Trust book. Yeah. Anyway, that's that one. And the other one, which kind of ties in... So last week I was talking about the yarn that we the butterfly yarn which we did, which was Laertes, which was the first one. So they're the minis, and that's the main skein. And the idea is that we're going to be doing yarn main skeins, mainies and minis every month. But I'm not going to say monthly because, as I've said before, we'll probably be doing more than just once a month because there are so many beautiful butterflies. But I had a couple of messages of people saying, are they going to be monthly? So they're not, they're going to be more than monthly, but they're going to be at least monthly, but they're not necessarily going to be regularly every single month, if that makes sense. We're just going to drop them in throughout the year. But if you wanted to make a butterfly blanket or something like that, there will be at least 12 of them, if that's what you're asking. Anyway, to feed my butterfly, I want to know more about them and I want to understand them. And this book is A Butterfly Journey by Maria, I think you pronounce her name Sibylla Marion. Anyway, it's this. And I've known about her for a while, and I've actually got some postcards of her art. And she was born in, I think it was 1647, and it's a fascinating story of her life, but also her butterfly journey. So that's something that I'm reading. And as you can see, that's already about 3 books on the go, so they will take me a while, but I like to dip into books rather than reading it like a novel. You know, it's quite nice to think, oh, I'm going to read that tonight. I'm also reading, did I say last week, Persephone short stories, which was another Christmas gift. Anyway, I think that's enough waffle from me. So I'll just quickly show you the yarns, this week's yarns. So I don't know if you're aware of Foxglove Wood, but in Foxglove Wood, as I said last week, there is a little family who live in Dickens Borough, and Mum is a big fan of Charles Dickens, and her children are Amy and Estella and Copperfield. And this week, it's Amy and Estella's birthday. So obviously they've got to have a new dress. So these are Amy's new dress and a frock for Estella. So they're twins. So they do like to have their dresses very similar to each other. But they do each have their individual likes and dislikes. And Estella definitely wanted speckles. So that is a new dress for Amy and a frock for Estella. And there is a lovely tonal actually that goes with that. And then we also have this, and this one is called A Winter Picnic. And this one, on their picnic, they saw a January daisy. Because you know how daisies actually are not just white and yellow, they've got quite a bit of pink on them. And actually it's lovely how many daisies there are at the moment. I don't know if you've seen them. That's something I was going to put in my journal actually, because there's quite a few on the grasses, but I don't know if they've been there or if they're just newly arrived. I'll know next year because I'm going to journal it. So they're those yarns. And then last week I did show you some of these, but we've kind of added to it. And the idea is that these will be in the shop for a while, so that if you see them and you're not sure and then you come back, they'll hopefully still be there. We'll keep restocking them. These actually go, we've got 2 bags going in this week as well. And this goes really well with one of the bags, which I'll put on the screen. Because guess what, I haven't brought it. And this is, okay, so this one is the new one. So we had last week, I showed you Snowdrops. And this one is A Promise of Spring. It's slightly different greens to Snowdrops. And there's no grey. So it goes with it beautifully, but it's different. That's A Promise of Spring. And then, I don't know if I showed you this last week, this is First Shoots. So they all go together really prettily. And also, this goes nicely with them as well. So we're sort of trying to get it so that they all will mix and match in together. Because it's quite difficult on a screen, I think, to see, because all our screens are different, and we do spend quite a long time photographing them and trying to get them right, but sometimes it might look different on your screen, but these all go together beautifully. And the last thing, so the other bag I've forgotten, this one. Now this is a Liberty fabric that I got last year. Now if that doesn't say spring and summer, I don't know what does. So that's a beautiful soft Liberty Tannerlawn, and it's got a white, that's polka dot, it's a white polka dot lining. There may be a bit of polka dot in the other bag as well. And so these all look pretty with it as well. So this is January Daisy. And there we go, it didn't bring them all, but there is this is the drawstring bag. So this has got boxed bottom, so it will stand up on its own with whatever you've got in there. I've also made in the same fabric and the same lining a box pouch, a smaller drawstring pouch, and some glasses cases. When I started, I used to, about 10 years ago, I used to make glasses cases and Kindle cases. That's kind of how I started. I made them for years. I used to sell them at big fairs and all things like that. And I've kind of gravitated to project bags, but I did some glasses cases last year, which you liked, so I've made a few of those. So yeah, it's a bit bright and cheery for winter, but I think that's lovely. So there's hopefully a choice there of colours for you. Anyway, someone last week, I think it was Cindy, who said, what's my mug? I think it was this mug I had, but it wasn't. But anyway, it's my Caroline Zoob mug. I can't tell you what it's called. Sorry, don't know if you heard that. That's Archie snoring. Archie? That was a very loud snore. I can't look, it's full of tea, so I can't look at what it's called, but it's Caroline Zoob mug. And it's got my rosehip tea in it, which I'm existing on at the moment. I absolutely love it. So anyway, thank you so much for watching. And if you do want to come and join in the slow stitching, come and say hello on Selvage Chronicles, and I will show you how I'm getting on next week. And if you use that hashtag, I can see what you're doing as well, which is lovely, because we're all kind of stitching together. So thank you for watching, and I'll see you next week.